The Shrek franchise is iconic, but its international dubs are crazy. Today we'll dive into how different countries changed the dubs of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and the first 3 Shrek movies. Let's jump right in. The German dub is probably the most interesting when it comes to Shrek, because Shrek's name comes from the German word Schreck, which means fright or terror. So in the German version, it adds more meaning and instantly gives us some understanding of Shrek's life. I mean, what? Beyond that, the movie titles got a bit wild in different languages. In German, they went for this one, which means Shrek the Foolhardy Hero. The second film was called Shrek 2 – Return of the Foolhardy Hero. Meanwhile, in Croatian, they went with Shrek the Green Monster. Strange turn. The dubbers added many extra sounds, making the film sound pretty odd. It was totally unnecessary, especially the kissing sound, because it turned the scene into a bit of a joke and lost that romantic vibe. Most other versions kept it normal. Then there's a funny blooper of the Russian adaptation of Shrek the Third. Fiona is dressing up for a royal party. If you listen closely, you'll catch a sound of Shrek, but it's Fiona on the screen. That's a clear goof up. You probably heard that people hate the UK version of Shrek 2 because of their dubbed characters like the ugly stepsister and the red carpet reporter. We're not talking about it much since it's well known, but here's another intriguing detail. Antonio Banderas always voiced Puss in the Spanish, American and Mexican versions.
Relax! I am Puss in Boots! Tranqui! Soy el gato con bota!
Now, in the first movie, when Farquaad talks to Gingy in the American version, there is a mention of the Muffin Man.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!
But in other versions, they switched it up. In Spanish, they chat about a French folk song, while in the Mexican version, it's all about ping-pong.
¿Tú conoces a Ping-Pong?
¿A Ping-Pong?
Sí, Ping-Pong.
¿Conocéis vos? ¿Conocéis a Mambrú? ¿Has dicho Mambrú?
Sí, Mambrú.
2 Ukrainian dubs take it in another direction, so the characters talk about some girls named Mariana and Oksana.
Так, марципана. Так, я знаю марципана. У якого жінка Мар'яна?
Марципана.
Так, я знаю марципана. У нього жінка Оксана.
Meanwhile, in the Russian version, there's a reference to Hatter.
Знаешь ли ты шляпника?
Шляпника?
Шляпника.
Now let's dive into Puss in Boots. When it came out, people were shocked by Peridot swearing. In most dubs, when Peridot swears, you can only hear a long beep sound. But before the official Russian release, an official Russian dub surfaced. And in this version, Peridot swearing was almost left uncensored. People were angry, because they watched the movie with their kids, covering their ears to shield them from the colorful language.
Minky, nugget, and your snooter! Паршивых кусков дерьма! И тебе стоит нос укоротить!
You'll remember the scene where Robin Hood and his merry men attack the main characters and sing a song with an apparent adult joke. Well, in the Russian version, that part was removed.
What he's basically saying is he likes to get paid. На девушек прекрасных люблю я посмотреть. Да.
Now let's talk about the quirks of Kazakh dubbing. The lip syncing was just terrible. There were many moments when characters said very long sentences when their mouth was closed. This problem haunts most of the movie.
Сен кімге айтып тұрсың?
Не дегенмен олар менің ата-анам ғой, олар мені жақсы көреді.
Even though the Russian dub seems bad, it's not that bad. It portrayed the relationship between Shrek and Fiona a bit better than the American version. You see, in Russian, there are 2 ways to refer to someone. formal and informal. When Shrek and Fiona first meet, they use the formal form of the word you, signaling that they see each other as strangers. But later, in one of the final scenes, as they grow closer, they switch to the informal you, indicating they're not strangers anymore and have become tight. The German version follows the same structure too. Now, in the Mexican dub of Shrek 2, there's a slip-up when the characters reach the kingdom of Far Far Away. In many international versions, translators add extra lines to help viewers understand what's happening. At the start of Shrek 2, Donkey in the Mexican version loudly reads up all the signs so those who don't know English can follow along. However, there's a moment when you can clearly see that Donkey isn't moving his mouth, so he can't be talking. Watch Donkey's face. Sign, even the small ones that no one can see. Take a look at this.
Зілля. Працівник місяця.
Білий мустанг за лісом на схід.
Поліцейські лицарі.
Зараз наші люди в обладунках.
Небезпечно.
One of the most significant bloopers involves Prince Charming. While his name is a straightforward joke, in the American version, it loses its punch same meaning in Russian. Russians don't really know what charming is, and they always thought it was just a weird.
Charming? Do you think so? Dad, I was so hoping you'd approve.
Принц Чарминг? А мы с ним так похожи? Папа, выходит, я добился нужного эффекта.
By the way, the Kazakh version faces the same issue. Speaking of names, in the American role, a giant and an ogre.
Поздравляю, Трой! Великан!
Especially funny because of the movie's medieval setting. Also, there are a few more cool references in Shrek 2, from a Soviet cartoon called Carlson. Meanwhile, in the Mexican dub, the reference is to Paquita la del Barrio, a Mexican singer. These are the most interesting things I uncovered in the international dubs of the Shrek franchise. Your likes and comments are always appreciated. If you notice any slip-ups in this video, drop a comment. See ya in the next videos.